Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. Today I am actually filming my April TBR just for the books, because my TBR for April for the comics will come with my wrap-up of March, or what I've read comic-wise in March. So without further ado, you know how this works probably. If you're new here, I'll link down below the video where I explain how the bookshelf and the shelf TBR works. So without further ado, let's generate a random number. So we got a total of 21 bookshelves. So I'm gonna do this and then go off screen so you can see it before me. Oop. I've already done shelf 18, so we have to generate another one. I've done 12 as well, so let's do it again.
A few moments later.
No luck.
Many months later.
Oof, we made it. So shelf number 14, which is my 6th time I tried to generate, which is normal guys, because I am basically half of them I've already done last year, so this year I'm completing this TBR, so it's normal that numbers will, you know, many times I will generate a number of a shelf I've already read. It's perfectly normal, I would expect that. But finally we've got a winner, which is shelf number 14. I'm gonna show you the shelf and then we go through all the books on the shelf that I've not read, and I will attempt to read for the month of April. Okay, so since my camera basically almost arrives there, I'm gonna just use the stand to show you the books I need to read on that. That is shelf 14. What I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna just point to the spine for this time and show you the ones I'm gonna pick, because if I keep my camera in my hand, it's gonna be more wobbly, right, than what I'm doing right now. So let me remove John, and Crimson Big Lady can actually stay there because I'm not going there. So first one, I've got Ray Bearer, which I've not read, so I'm gonna pick this up. I'm gonna show you in a second. Then that came out is An Ember in the Ashes. I have read, but I've not read Iron Warrior. I'm not sure which book in the series this is, so I think it's not the first one. Okay, it's Epic Conclusion, so I've not read the first ones, so I'm gonna leave it here. The Labyrinth of the Spirits I have read, but I have not read The Child Teeth, so it's finally time to read this big boy. Well, try to. Sense and Sensibility I have also not read, so I'm gonna attempt this one. It's a stunning edition. I'm gonna show you properly in a second. Oh, another one that was actually behind, and it's Kingdom of the Weekend, which I've not read, so I'm gonna read this one. A lot of unread books. I'm in trouble as always. And then we've got Isabel Allende, Daughter of the Fortune, not read this one, so I will. Okay, so then The Girl Next Door I have read, but I've not read the collection of short stories next to it, which is Sex, Drugs and Tales of Wonder. I'm not sure why I bought that one, I'd be really honest, because the short stories usually are not my cup of tea. But 3 parts Dead, I've not read, need to read this one. And I also not read the Crimson Campaign, so I'm gonna read this one. Second book in a series. Off season I've read. Stormfront, if it's book number 1 I've read. But this one I need to check which number in the series it is, because if it's number 2, for example, I need to read it, but if it's number 1 or something I don't, because I already read. Oh, I'm excited about these next ones. We Are the Dead I've not read, so I need to read. A lot of fantasy in the shelf. Same here. Tell Me I'm Worthless I've not read, it's a horror, need to read. The Bird and the Sword I've not read, need to read. And moving here to the next section, The Fat Lady Sings I've not read. I'm actually looking forward to reading these. Grave Peril, no idea which number of the series this is. I'm gonna check. One of the 2 basically that you just saw I will have to read, probably, but not both. And one I'm super excited to read is One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest. I'm still holding on watching the movie because I wanted to read the book first, so yay. And then that is Shirley Jackson, The Hunting of Hill House, and I have read. So as you can see, stepping back, majority of those books I had not read. So I'm in trouble for April, but let's go into each one of them in a bit more detail. Okay, we are back. So let me go through all the things on that shelf that I had not read, and I'm gonna attempt in April. If you've been here since January at least, you know that I'm very, very busy this month, so most of the times I don't get around to read all of them, but I give my best try, and if I don't read them, they just go back on the shelf. I need to be kinder with myself this year, because I literally don't need to add anything to my already stressful life in this period. So first of all, I've got the collection of short stories, which is Sex, Drugs and Tales of Wonder, and this short book is something I picked up randomly. I don't remember why. I just know that it's inspired by 1000 Nights. It's a bit of a mesh of different genre. Again, let's see how it goes, because I'm not the biggest fan of short stories, but I own it. It's worth giving a try. Then I am gonna attempt to read this children edition of Sense and Sensibility, which has like beautiful golden pages, and the pages are like plastic almost. I love when books have like these kind of pages. And so I don't know anything about Sense and Sensibility, apart from, of course, it's a very popular classic, and it's about these two sisters that upon the death of their father have to leave their family home and seek fortune, and both of them eventually encounter like love interests, but their love life is not uncomplicated. Both of them and their love interests have to go through a lot of turmoil. So I don't know anything else about this one. Cool, that's fine. It's a bit of a chunky one, so I'm gonna try, but I need to also be in the mood of reading a classic, and I don't know, I think it's gonna be my first Jane Austen. I believe it could be, so we'll see. I also tend to get rid of the books that I eventually don't end up liking or DNFing, but in that case I will keep these because it looks so stunning. And then I've got Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco, who wrote the Jack the Ripper series, rip-off of Jack the Ripper series, which I've not read yet, but that's okay, I can start with this series. And all I know about this is about this twin sister who's on a path of revenge and seeking the killer of her twin sister, and she will team up with a prince of hell. I don't know anything else about this. I know that, I guess it's YA, but we will see. It's blurred by very popular authors and overall has been loved. At least the first book I've heard just good things. Not so much about the sequels, but we will see how it goes, and I'm curious to try her writing, so then I maybe, you know, can be even more hyped to try her other series. The Child Teeth, which unfortunately took a plunge and got ruined when I was not home, so someone had to pay dearly for this. This is a massive paperback and has pictures inside, and I believe this is a dark retelling, horror-ish retelling of Peter Pan by Brom. I've never ever read anything by him, and I know that there are a few popular picks to choose from him, but usually The Child Teeth is where you start, so here I am starting with The Child Teeth as for tradition. Then I've got Ray Bearer, which is my first special edition I bought from Fairyloot, and as a consequence of being so excited of having these, I also bought the sequel immediately, so I really hope that I will love this, because otherwise I just spent a lot of money for nothing. But this is something that was going around a couple of years ago, and it's about this girl. She has been raised by her mother, called the Lady, all her life, to eventually travel to the capital and become one of the advisors of the prince, and that it's a very prestigious place to be. But beneath this goal, there is actually the real scope of why this girl has been sent to the capital, which is kill the crown prince. And I don't know if our protagonist will go ahead with it or will team up with the prince against her mother. I have no idea. It's not too long, and it's quite like small hardback, so we will see, and it looks stunning on my shelves, so I really hope I love it. So I just confirmed this is the first book in a trilogy by Allende, who I've never read, but my mom, she's a big fan of her, and so she was always on my radar, and finally I can read one novel by her. And I believe this is the story of this girl that she is adopted in the 1830s by a British family that was in Chile, so it was part of the export company. So the lady that adopted her husband works for the British Empire basically, but she decides to adopt this small child, and she wants to raise her to be like a noble English woman, but our main protagonist has other plans. And when she falls in love, and when he leaves town to go and find fortune in California, our main protagonist runs away from home, gets on a ship as a stowaway, I believe, and follows him and down to California. I don't know anything else about this. It's a historical fiction clearly, but I am so eager to try Isabel Allende and see. Usually me and my mom tastes are similar to a certain degree, so I'm expecting to actually like this. Classic that I don't want to know the synopsis because I do have a vague idea of what the movie is about, so I'm imagining, of course, it's taken from this book, so I'm expecting the same. So this is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is an amazing edition of it. I loved it. When I found it, I thought it was so unique. It's a Penguin Classic Deluxe edition. And so I just know that it's about a guy who is in a mental health hospital and we follow him. It's also had collages, which I love. I don't know why people have grievances with these kind of pages. I love these kind of pages. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this classic and then watch the very popular movie. And then speaking of mental health hospital, I've got another book that takes place in a mental health hospital. This is The Fat Lady Sings. This is Black Britain Writing Back, editions by Penguin, and this is something that I picked up for my book club when I was working in my previous company. I was hosting the book club and this was one of the picks. It wasn't chosen eventually, but I became so intrigued by the synopsis that I decided to just pick it up and eventually read it for myself. It takes place in the 1990s, where there is basically these two women meeting in a mental health hospital. One has been there for a long time, but she's quite cheerful. She takes things more lightly. She tries to see the positive things in life despite their condition and where she lives. And then a new woman comes in, joins, and she's very actually silent. She doesn't share much. And so someone decides to pair them up and see if they can, kind of build a bond. And eventually they start recounting their stories to each other and potentially writing about it. I might again be a bit wrong, but once I've read it, I'll let you know. And I'd be actually curious if I can read them like back to back or something, so then I can kind of, have a bit of a trend of books that takes place in a mental health hospital. So yeah, looking forward to these two. So then I've got Tell Me I'm Worthless. This is a horror novel that has been overall very much loved, and so that's why I picked it up. And it's about these three women that decide one day to spend the night in a haunted house because I don't know, because they probably don't love themselves enough in order to do so. And then something horrible happens. Two of them, I believe, leave. And then they try to kind of, put together their life, go on with their life, but then they're still hunted by what happened in the house, and eventually one of the two goes missing. And so the other one decides that she needs to face her fears and go back and face the house and what's going on there in the pursuit of saving her friend. I think one of the protagonists is trans. I really hope it's very horror. Like, I love haunted house horror, and I really, really hope that this is horror, daunting, horrifying story. So looking forward to this. The Crimson Campaign. This is book number 2 in a gunpowder fantasy, which is basically a fantasy that it revolves around a lot of the use of firearms. And I remember I really, really enjoyed the first book. It was definitely a novelty, something new. It's very military, but I really got attached to the characters. However, it's been more than 5 years since I've read the first book, so I'm gonna try and peruse the internet to find a synopsis of this and then continue on. I think it's just a trilogy, and this is also part of my fantasy TBR, which is a TBR that I have started 3 years ago by now, where I'm trying to read a book in each subgenre of fantasy. I'm gonna link it down below. So if I read this, I'm gonna get closer to my goal of finishing eventually that bloody challenge that I've done for myself. I'm very bad sometimes at following up with my challenges. And then I've got a book that has been on my radar for ages, and then I bought it, and then I don't know why I never read it. This is sci-fi. It's 3 parts Dead, and it's basically the story of this girl trying to bring back to life a god after he's been killed. I believe a part of this book is also like a murder investigation around who killed the god. And I think in this world, from my understanding, there are many gods, and they are responsible for the functioning of a city. So for example, when this god died, train and electronic stuff stopped working. I believe that's the premises. I'm very curious to have like kind of fantasy with a murder investigation on behind, kind of combining two genera that I really love, which is, crime, mystery, murder investigation with fantasy, in this case sci-fi. So yeah, looking forward to this. Okay, I solved also the mystery of Jim Butcher. So Stormfront is book number 1, which I have read. This urban fantasy, very popular series. And Grave Peril is number 3. So I don't have book number 2. And this reminds me that I need to buy it. But for this month, I'm not going to read it because I think I've got enough on my plate. Then I've got The Bird and the Sword. I don't know if this is self-published. It might be. and it's someone that one of my subscribers told me about, I believe. I don't know if it's a retelling of a popular story or something. It kind of sounds a bit familiar, but it's about this girl that her mother dies, and on her deathbed she predicted that her daughter wouldn't speak ever again after she passed away. And then if her daughter, our main protagonist, died, her father would die too. And I think the father is now trying to kind of keep her a prisoner because he wants to get to the throne, become king, but if our main protagonist dies, he dies. So I think I don't know if it's the bad guy. It sounds like the father is the bad guy in all of these. We will see. It's a fantasy, definitely, and I heard that her writing is majestic, so I think it's worth giving it a try and see. If I don't like it, then, you know, it's been on my shelves enough. If I love it, then good. I think it's an underrated fantasy that I can hopefully then recommend to you. And finally, we have We Are the Dead by Shako. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it more than this. And this sounds like almost like a second chance fantasy story, where basically, not in a romantic sense, but what I mean is that basically this world, there was a war, and the people, you know, sided with our main protagonist or protagonists are the one that lost, and so they think there's not gonna be another opportunity for them to win, but they kind of then find each other and come up with a plot to actually, you know, turn and twist the outcome of the previous war and try, you know, to regain access to the throne or something of the sort. Thank you guys for watching. Have a lovely day. Let me know what you're gonna read for this month in April, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!